gummy bear.
It's the internet, you're busy. Let's do this for August 29th, 2022. For the next hour or so, let me help you sort through the world of gaming on Game Mess Mornings Live with me, Jeff Grubb. Today, lots of PlayStation news and more Steam Decks are coming in the future. But first, please join me in welcoming today's co-host of Game Mess Mornings. It's Rachel Kaser from GamesBeat. Rachel, how are you doing?
It's Monday, Jeff. You know better than to ask me that question.
I think I'm doing pretty okay for a Monday. I took it easy this past weekend. I watched a bunch of movies, stayed up way too late. The sleep is still catching up with me. I stayed up way too late. I looked over and Mike Minotti was still tweeting stuff at 5 a.m. also. So we had made mistakes and I paid for it a little bit on Sunday, but I went to sleep relatively early last night and I feel like I'm getting caught up. So I'm ready for this week. I'm ready to do things. I'm ready for people to drop a ton of news. I'm hoping we're getting into September. It feels like we're going to get it a Nintendo Direct, a Sony event. Who knows? I'm hoping for all that stuff. So just announce it today. Let's get started with September already. Where are you at with all that stuff?
Be fine with a Nintendo Direct, honestly. I think it would be. I think I need a little of that in my life. Like the Splatoon video, the Splatoon 3 video, it was good, but it's still not completely scratching the itch. I need them to preview something that's coming out next year. I would be fine with that.
Absolutely, and it's happening. It's coming in September, everybody. So
it'll happen, right?
Yep,
yeah,
it is. Yep, it's happening. All right. Before we get into this mess, let's explain ourselves. Each weekday, I, Jeff Grubb, will help piece your gaming life back together. That includes breaking news, the catch-up, where we discuss the biggest topics consuming the lives of gamers everywhere, and maybe even bring in some of our own original reporting. For all these topics, I'll get the input of a bona fide expert who will make me look smart. If you are watching live on Twitch, welcome. Hello, Twitch. I got a hair in my mouth. You can always listen to the show later on podcast feeds by searching for Game Mess Mornings or find the RSS on GiantBomb.com. You can also catch the show later with chapters and timestamps on YouTube. Hello, YouTube. All right.
Hi, YouTube.
We have a lot to get into, so let's get started with the morning mess. Sony has released a new model of PlayStation 5. This comes from Shannon Grixty at pressstart.com.au in Australia. So keep in mind, all of this is coming from an Australian point of view, where they are already getting this system, apparently. Shannon Grixty writes, earlier today, it was revealed that by Japanese retailers that a brand new PS5 model dubbed the CFI 1200 model was releasing on September 15th. But after chatting to a few retailers and those who have recently picked up consoles in Australia, it appears that we are the first country to get the new model again. The digital PS5, the CFI 1202B, is 200 grams lighter at 3.4 kilograms, so 500 grams lighter than the original launch model, because if people remember, about this time last year, Sony launched a revised model that was, a stealth revision that was lighter than the launch model. This one, once again, is lighter, so we're talking about a half kilogram lighter for both the digital and the disc-based version of the systems. That disc-based version is now 3.9 kilograms, where it was 4.5 kilograms at launch. Twitter user Renka Schedule noticed that Japanese sites were getting ready to launch the new PS5 revision that was approved by Japanese authorities in May. The launch date in Japan, September 15th, is the same day that the new price will be applied in Japan. So
a kick in the head.
quite the timing there, right? Obviously they knew this was happening. They were well aware. The one thing that we know about these revisions is that they're lighter. Beyond that, we have not had anyone tear them down yet. We don't seem to have them here in the United States, so it's no one here is getting their hands on them. Really, what we want to know is what was taken out to make it lighter. Almost certainly it is cooling stuff again. They already did a cooling revision once. They did another cooling revision. And what we need to know is, are they doing that because, once again, they found a more efficient way to use less materials? Or is it using a more efficient processor that's a smaller process, the 6-nanometer process as opposed to the 7-nanometer launch process that would use less heat and therefore require less cooling? We don't know that. It seems very likely that that's the case. But if it is, Sony is likely saving some money on these systems and yet raising the price at the same time. It just feels a little bit like they're kind of squeezing us from every angle right now. And that's what every company's doing. But what do you think?
Well, my first thought is this helping at all? I mean, is this going to go any way towards fixing the supply chain issues for Sony? Is this going to go anyway towards making sure we all get more PS5s? Because if the answer is no, there's a part of me that's like, Sony, why?
Mhm.
If you want to, I mean, raising the price is all well and good, but if you want to make money on these consoles, you need to sell them. You need
Yeah.
to actually have PS5s to put into our hands. So if this actually is this actually helping, or are they just say, hey, let's cut a few combs off of the heatsink and shove it back out there as a new revision?
I would say it can't hurt, but that was the hope originally. Is like, okay, by using fewer, less material overall to build the PS5 last year, it would go some way towards putting a dent in the supply constraints over the next year, and that didn't really materialize in any real functional way for people to notice on store shelves.
No.
But obviously, demand is so far outstripping supply that maybe that was never going to actually solve the problem. I would expect the same thing to be true here. Is that raising the price and being able to make more PS5s because you're using fewer components, less materials, and maybe the 6 nanometer process enables you to get more chips, per wafer, and so now you have like more components to work with. Like, okay, if all of that is true, and again we're assuming some things there, but if all of that is true, even then I don't think that the supply is going to be able to match demand, at least going through this holiday. I'm hopeful. Yeah. I'm hopeful that on the other side next year, because they've made these moves, that yes, it will make some of a difference relatively soon. Within the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a case of getting like better hardware, or more accessible hardware, I should say, in order to make sure that we put that they put more consoles out there so that people who want to buy them may buy them, even at a raised price, because even if they do raise the price, people will still buy these consoles if they can get hold of them. Then yes, I can see this being worth it. But if it's just a case of we're just replacing small components and it's not going to make anything any easier on us, then I can't help but think we're spinning our wheels here a little bit.
Yeah, and for anyone who already has a PS5, a lot of these things are just not worth like thinking about. Just go get the games you want to get. You don't need to rush out like this. These new revisions aren't going to be better in any material way. Like, even if it has a new processor, they're taking all of the improvements from that processor and putting it towards heating, like cooling and efficiency, not towards being able to run games better. This is not going to be some pro model or anything like that. It's not even going to like run games 2% better. It's going to be spec'd exactly the same, and they're just going to take all the improvements on the cooling side because that enables them to save the most amount of money and and get a lot of benefits from that side of things. So if you already have a PS5, this story kind of doesn't mean a lot to you. You could just keep buying your games. But if you were in that holding pattern, saying, "Hey, I wanted to find a way to pick one up at the store. I wanted to be a little bit easier. Maybe I was saving up money." It could be kind of a kick to be like, okay, well, there is a new version. Maybe that's going to make things more available, but the price went up anyhow. So no matter what, I'm going to be paying more than what I originally thought I was going to pay. And it sounds like, in places like Japan, where the price went up a little bit more than other territories, there's kind of a backlash there, a pretty significant backlash. As opposed to, obviously there's a backlash everywhere where the price went up. But Canada and Australia seem to be in this thing of like, we always get kicked while we're down. Like we were already paying more, and we get kicked anyhow. Of course we do. Like they're almost used to it. It's a shame, but it's definitely, I get that sense. Japan's like, we're your home territory. Why are we being treated this way? And it seems like at the same time, what other choice is the Japanese gamer going to suddenly go to Xbox? That's just not going to happen for the most part, right?
No.
So you could see why Sony is making these moves, right, Rachel?
I can see why they are. I can. And I am of the opinion that a price hike is, I mean, everyone is all like, yeah, they're a big corporation. Of course, they're going to try and bilk us for money. That's true. But I really think that they would not resort to a price hike unless the situation were dire. I mean, there's not some, cartoon villain up at the top office going, yes, raise the price, those peasants will buy it anyway. I really think that it was it could be, but I really think that as a corporation as a whole, there's a lot of them like, should we?
Yes, that's true. Risk adverse.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead and finish your thought, please.
I do think it was a situation that it was a decision that was made with a lot of need behind it.
Yeah, it's I think that they that risk adversity that we talk about, where they're like, oh, should we? Because they're afraid of this backlash, or they're afraid that it could hurt their market position, and it's something they spent a long time earning. That's definitely real. I also just think that they look at the real like, hey, we put a lot of work into this and we can get away with it, so we're going to do it. But, I wonder if Xbox is like considering the same sort of thing. I don't know if they've done any stealth revisions. Maybe they haven't. We haven't made as big a deal of it because it's like wasn't like a huge reduction in weight or something like that. And but it also feels like maybe the Xbox Series X at least already feels as shrunk down as it possibly can be, and it would be surprising if they were able to take anything out. So I wonder even if they like see the opportunity to go to 6 nanometer, if they're like, we don't. Yeah, maybe we could save some money. Maybe we'll do it. But for the most part, it's not something we're rushing out to do. Where Sony definitely seems like we over-engineered this PS5 from the get-go with way too much cooling just to be sure, to be careful. And now we need to like kind of be ripping out everything we can to be making more money from these systems, because we thought we were going to be making money from every PlayStation 5 sold pretty early on, and things changed, components got more expensive, and now we no longer are. And
pandemic happened.
Right, the pandemic happened and continued happening and caused all kinds of different problems. Like it was one problem, and they almost like they solved some of those problems with like they were able to get more and more chips, and then it was like all of a sudden other components started becoming more expensive. It's like, what the hell? What are we doing here? But I think Sony probably did build into their model, like their business model for this generation. We expect to be making, or at least not losing so much money per PS5. And to like make this make sense, we need to be avoiding that. And I think you're right, like that to make sure that they stayed in the black in a way that they expected to. They probably pulled this, ripcord on raising the price. And yeah. One last thing on this topic, and then we'll move ahead. These smaller revisions. Do you think that they are more likely doing these because a major revision is still pretty far off? Let's not even say a PS5 Pro, but let's say like a PS5 Slim or PS5 with double the storage and like just a new design. Do you think those are coming out in any time in the next 12 to 18 months?
I would say probably at the far end of that, at the very least.
Yeah.
Like probably like fiscal year 2024, I would say probably. Or not, sorry, late fiscal year 2023. Just you'd probably push that pretty far back. But I do think that I do find it amusing that all the revisions are talking that's their frame of reference for the revisions is weight, because 3.9 kilograms is still not light by any means.
Right. Yes, definitely not.
But yeah. I would still I still think that there is a PS5 Slim probably in the prototyping stages, but I don't think it's coming out anytime soon.
I think I fully agree with that, and I think that's, they're more willing to do these specifically because of that. It's like they will get around to doing eventually. They always do. But right now, that research and development for like a new model and, the machining and the tooling for putting out a new revised chassis is expensive. And what they're trying to do here is avoid expenses. They are trying to avoid costs wherever possible. So putting out the same exact system that is cheaper to make is the path forward for them, at least until they get on the other side of the supply issue. So, and that seems like, still a ways away. Okay, let's see here. Meanwhile, Sony is also forming PlayStation Studios mobile division. This comes from a PlayStation blog post written by Herman Holst, who's in charge of PlayStation Studios. He said, today we announced that we have entered into a definitive agreement to acquire Savage Game Studios, a hugely talented team of creatives with many years of experience making some of the most popular mobile games enjoyed by players around the world. They were founded a few years ago with the goal of fearlessly exploring bold new ideas. We share their timeless ambition to innovate, along with a continued drive to expand our audience and bring PlayStation to more people than ever before, making them a perfect fit to join PlayStation Studios. As we assured you before, and this is him going into kind of already defensive mode, but as we assured you before with our plans to bring select titles to PC, our efforts beyond console in no way diminish our commitment to the PlayStation community, nor our passion to keep making amazing single-player, narrative-driven experiences. He goes on to say all the games that they are working on that are exactly the thing that the kind of people reading on PlayStation blog would care about, as well as that PSVR 2 is coming, and Guerrilla has Horizon Call of the Mountain coming. He's like, yeah, we're working on all that stuff. We're proud of our upcoming releases on PC as well, with Uncharted Legacy of Thieves Collection and Marvel Spider-Man, giving gamers without PlayStation hardware a taste of our amazing library of first-party titles. Finally, he finishes by saying, our mobile gaming efforts will be similarly additive, providing more ways for more people to engage with our content and striving to reach new audiences unfamiliar with PlayStation and our games. Savage Game Studios is joining a newly created PlayStation Studios mobile division, which will operate independently from our console development and focus on innovative on-the-go experiences based on new and existing PlayStation IP. So that's the two big points here. They acquired a studio that was already working in mobile games. It started in like 2020. It hasn't been around a very long time. This is not like the Candy Crush studio or anything like that. And then they are starting the PlayStation mobile studios to make games based on PlayStation IP for mobile. What do you expect this to turn into? Is this going to be similar to what Nintendo's done, where they kind of keep like testing stuff on mobile, or do you think they have a bigger plan than that?
I can't. It's hard for me to say that PlayStation is doing mobile better than Nintendo is. I mean, considering that Nintendo, I mean, I would say that pre-Fire Emblem Heroes, I would have been way more skeptical. But
Agreed.
Nintendo seemed to have hit on the secret sauce for bringing one of their IPs into mobile in a natural and successful way.
Sustainable for sure.
And definitely. And I can't see PlayStation being able to necessarily improve on that, at least not in the early stages. I think once they hit one of their IPs that is really well suited to mobile, and I hope they don't just stick to The Last of Us, Uncharted, their greatest hits collection necessarily. But once they find an IP that really works for mobile, and if they stick with it, then I think they will they will find their own version of the secret sauce.
Yeah, and it's definitely the kind of thing where we know why this happens. You look at the numbers. Consoles obviously being very successful for PlayStation, for everybody right now. Everyone is succeeding if they have a major console: Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation. Sony's expanding into PC because PC is not going anywhere. It's also growing, and it's growing in a lot of markets where console isn't. But the most money still is being made in mobile, and the reasons are pretty clear that audience has become used to a monetization scheme that enables you to spend a lot of money over the course of years. Once you have a hit, it's, building mobile games is also less expensive. So then once you have a hit, it's like that hit pays for 100 different attempts to try other mobile games because it's making $1 billion per year. That's what a successful mobile game is like. And then on top of that, it's like it is appealing to audiences that almost certainly wouldn't be playing PC or console. They are different people, and they're often in regions where getting those consoles or PCs just isn't reasonable. A lot of people throughout India play a ton of smartphone games and aren't playing a ton of consoles. And so, well, you don't want to ignore India. There's a lot of people there. So the reasons for doing this make a ton of sense. It is the same sort of reasoning behind why Microsoft was willing to pay so much money for Activision Blizzard King, because King does have Candy Crush Saga, and that has been $1 billion per year game for the last decade, and it's not going to change anytime soon. It hasn't changed so far. It's not going to change anytime soon. So that said, like their focus here on they do say new experiences, but also based on PlayStation IP. Do you think we get like stuff like Astro Bot Run? I saw someone in chat mention, or The Last of Us mobile or something like that, or maybe like they put like a mobile version of the Naughty Dog shooter out or something like that. I think all that's possible, but I also think they will likely focus mostly on new stuff too. What do you think?
I feel like if they're smart, they're not just going to keep milking like the Uncharted, The Last of Us kind of thing. Because the PlayStation has a lot of IP that they haven't necessarily touched in a while, and I'm gonna be like that person and say like, well, I mean, they haven't made a Sly Cooper game in a while. So.
Yeah. I hope, like, if they announced a new Sly Cooper and it came from mobile, would you be okay with that?
Yeah, I'd be okay with it. I'm gonna like do the thing to PlayStation fans and just say it's like, hey, you want Bloodborne PC? This is how you get Bloodborne PC. You should want Sony to have like a really successful mobile game because that's where the money comes from.
Yeah, you're right. Like that money could pay for so much other stuff. Yes, absolutely. I think that we do see like all kinds of things tried at first, and then they probably do find something successful, and then they reiterate on that thing over and over again. That seems to be the story of mobile. It's very easy to stagnate on the mobile side of things. Again, we point to King and Candy Crush Saga being successful. That's kind of all that studio does. They do other versions of Candy Crush, but mostly it's just like riffing on that idea over and over again because it's been the #1 game on mobile for a little decade, which would be I suppose, you know, you could say that Call of Duty's been #1 on console. It just feels like they put out a new Call of Duty every year. That's
True.
There are 12,000 levels in Candy Crush Saga, so what am I talking about? They put out new stuff all the time. All right. Sony to integrate Discord voice chat in the coming months. That comes from Tom Henderson at Xputer. He writes, several sources, including the same source who provided accurate details on the PlayStation Pro controller several months ago, have said that the full integration of Discord is coming to PlayStation consoles in the coming months. It's understood the integration will happen during version 7.0 of the PlayStation 5 software, with the version 6.0 version software coming first in mid-September. The implementation of Discord on the console has been in the quality assurance phase for the past couple of months, with progress on the application reportedly going very well. If you're confused about the integration, it essentially means that you'll be able to use Discord on your PlayStation 5. In May of last year, Sony announced it did have a partnership with Discord. So people have been waiting for this for a while, Rachel, where, you know, they said, hey, we have this deal. PlayStation is investing a little bit of money into Discord, and therefore you should expect big things. And then they came out with something, I think around December of last year, and all it was rich presence. You could tell if you were on PC and you were friends with someone and they connected their account to their PlayStation 5, you could see that they were playing Astrobot or whatever, and that's all you could do with that. So we've been waiting for that sense. And then in the meantime, Microsoft announced that they were going to enable Discord voice chat on the Xbox Series X. Now, you have to go through a mobile phone and connect it, and it's a little roundabout, but it does work, and it does the thing you want to do with Discord cross-platform support. Here, it sounds like it might be a little bit more than that. It just sounds like it might be the full app experience. And I guess, is that what you want? Because I'm kind of wondering, like, okay, as long as I have the voice, I'm happy. But then if I could, like, see what's going on in my Discords on console, I wouldn't be against that. Like, where are you at with this?
Oh, yeah, I'd be fine with that. I mean, the voice chat is really, I think, what you want on a PlayStation. I really don't see myself, you know, taking a break from whatever game to go like look through my like 1,400 Discord servers and see what's going on in them. Because I mean, I think if that's what you're planning on doing, I still think you'd probably go to mobile first. But I like that the option is there if that's what you want. If that's what you want to do, because if you're going to integrate Discord into a console, then integrate Discord. Don't just put the voice chat in there, because there's so many other potential voice chat clients, and if you're not going to have the whole experience, what's even the point of using Discord?
Yeah, and it's like I think that there's thinking, at least among Microsoft and Discord, when they were setting that up, they're like, hey, okay, people really just want to be able to talk to their friends who are on PC when they're playing cross-platform games, so let's do that. And I think it's sort of acceptable that the solution they came up with, where it's like, if you really want to do that, get your phone out, get a computer out, and just hit this button and connect the stuff each time, and you're good to go. And if that matters to you, that's something you will do. It's not the same, though, as like enabling people to come up with new ways of using Discord, and like, you're not going to start a new Discord community if you are all on Xbox. It's like you're just going to like interact with the ones you are already a part of, separate from that. And I think full integration of Discord would enable someone on PlayStation to effectively say, well, no, this is where we're setting up our communities from now on. This is where we want to be hanging out. And that's more powerful. Like, there's obviously more benefits to that. And you can do stuff like connect a keyboard to your PlayStation. And so there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to like just have full, you know, the full participation of what Discord would enable through your console. The console's easily powerful enough to run Discord in the background while you're playing a game. So this shouldn't be an issue. And hopefully that's the case. The coming months thing, so the next update's in mid-September. I guess I'm not sure exactly when PlayStation rolls out the next update, but I would expect like by the end of this year. They usually do another one by December, so I would expect that probably when it comes. That makes sense. Like a year since the last Discord update. I guess we'll see. All right. Steam Deck 2 is absolutely coming. A new booklet from Valve confirms. This comes from Liam Daweh at Gaming on Linux. It confirmed, and he's talking about the booklet here, that SteamOS will be getting a generic installer so that anyone will be able to install the latest SteamOS available from the Steam Deck on their PC. Along with that, hardware vendors will also be able to use it. So we'll eventually see devices from others, with some already looking into it, like GBD and One X Player. And that's like a key thing, where SteamOS is this open source thing, and it provides an easy way for like to translate Windows things to Linux, and that way you don't have to install Windows on these things. So if you are putting out one of these handheld gaming computer things, and you just want to have Steam on it, now Valve is going to enable that to happen, and that's pretty cool, and that's like sounds like that is progressing, and I would expect GPT and these other companies to at least experiment with that a little bit. And Valve benefits from that going forward because they still get that 30% cut of every game. So they don't care if you're playing on Steam Deck or one of these other systems. But what about a Steam Deck 2? Well, it doesn't get much more firm than in the future, Valve will follow up on this product and with improvements and iterations to hardware and software, bringing new versions of Steam Deck to market. And you can actually see the thing here. Let me bring up the last page here. You can actually read this online. This booklet was basically Valve saying, hey, people in Korea and Japan and a few other regions of Asia that aren't familiar with Steam and what we are in Valve, here's a booklet to introduce you to that while you are excited about this Steam Deck that apparently is becoming more popular in these countries. And so they're like explaining themselves. And as part of that, they said more Steam Decks were coming. That's not a surprise, right, Rachel?
No. But it makes me happy. But it's not a surprise.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing where it's kind of nice to just hear them flat out say it. The way they put it, like there's gonna be more of these. There's gonna be more Steam Decks, and they're gonna be improved in all the ways you would think. What kind of improvements would you want? Have you used the Steam Deck yet? Or if not,
I don't have a Steam Deck. I leave that to you.
Well, that's fair. But like, are you holding off because you're waiting for a revision, or because you just don't need one for the way you play games?
Oh no, it's more like I'm saving up for it right now.
Okay, yeah. So like, then perfect. Like, if you're saving up and you're like looking at it, are you like, as time goes on, are you going to find yourself be like, maybe I should wait for a revision since they confirm that, or are you going to be happy to just like, no, I'll just pick up one that's available now?
Yeah, I think I'd probably wait like maybe like next year's tax return or something.
There you go.
But yeah, it would definitely, it's definitely something that I think if since they've confirmed they're bringing out new hardware iterations, I'm like, well, I don't want to pay, several $100s and be stuck with last year's model, so might as well just wait and see what comes of it.
Yeah, I get that, and I just would tell people probably don't wait, because the next model is almost certainly going to be more expensive, and they will probably jump to it immediately. So I think they will probably stop producing this first generation one. And I think because this one, they definitely are like, we're introducing a new idea, so we are going to take a significant cut on every system we sell. I think they are probably going to stop doing that pretty quickly, and I think this little honeymoon is going to be over pretty quick. And so and the Steam Deck is great as is. It actually doesn't need that many improvements. I think the big thing is probably battery life for many people, but the battery life is not that much worse than a Switch or anything like that. So I'm like, it's already great as is. Maybe it could be more comfortable for different kinds of hands, but overall, I'm really happy with it. Let's see. The page mentions that they want to do even more open. They want the next Steam Deck to be even more open than the first generation. And then the story goes on to say, I'm not sure how they plan to improve on that, since it's already one of the most open mainstream gaming devices around. But, the fact that they are promising to make it even more open, I'm like, I wonder what they have in mind for that. Because, you could put whatever OS you want on there. You can open the thing up. It's not necessarily easy to go in there and replace some of those components, but you can do that. But it's, this is a completely open computer. It's just a PC like any other. It's just a very cool one. System Shock's owners say it's now up to 10 cents if sequels get made. This comes from Andy Robinson at VGC. Night Dive Studios, the owner of the System Shock IP, has clarified the status of the long missing in action System Shock 3, claiming it's now up to 10 cents if the sequel actually gets made. System Shock 3 had spent several years in development at Austin, Texas-based Otherside Entertainment, the studio helmed by the original System Shock developers Paul Neurath and Warren Spector, before disappearing from the public arena completely in 2020. Now, this is Andy Robinson talking to Night Dive Studios, who did the remake of System Shock and was not, I don't think, involved in System Shock 3. Apparently what happened is Neurath and Spector sold the rights for System Shock 3 to 10 cents, and now no one knows if anything's actually happening with that. And Warren Spector and Paul Neurath are working on other games. It's not clear if they're also working on System Shock 3. And so it really comes down to 10 cents saying, yes, we are going to go ahead with this and we're going to pay what it takes to make it happen. And who knows? I don't think, 10 cents not exactly out there talking about System Shock 3 a lot. My gut there would be like, if it comes down to 10 cents, it probably isn't going to happen because they probably don't care that much about it, right?
No, I mean, I feel like if you presented the proposal to them in the correct way, as in just like, hey, here's a cool game, want to sign off on it. If you got the right person, they might be like, yeah, sure, sign the proposal, whatever.
Right.
But I don't know. I actually met Warren Spector and Paul Narath in like 2017, I think it was, at South by Southwest, and I asked them about System Shock 3, and they're like, no, no, it's coming, and that's all you're gonna get, and that's all they would tell me about it. And then I kept waiting and waiting, and then their next piece of news is that, oh, by the way, we're not making System Shock 3 anymore, and I'm like,
Yeah,
damn it, you lied to me.
It's the kind of thing where I think you're right. Where if someone else were to come to them with the idea and had the rights and were asking Tencent to invest, they probably would say yes. I think the way that you phrased that was right. But the fact that it would require some effort from within Tencent to be like, I'm going to champion this at just, because like if you are someone working at Tencent, the things you want to champion are the next acquisition or some big mobile, free-to-play game that's going to make $1 billion per year, because that's probably going to get you a bigger bonus or whatever, however it works at Tencent. So I'm very skeptical that we will ever see a System Shock 3 at this point, unless Tencent's like, hey, we sold the rights to it in some other sale and didn't even think about it, and then someone else makes it, and that would be kind of years and years from now.
Yeah, it's a pity. I like the trailer that they put out. I think that Other Side put out back in the day. I can't believe it's been like 2 years, probably even more since that trailer came out. But I liked where they were going with it, and I liked what I'd seen of the game so far. So it's a pity that it's gone into the realm of vaporware.
Yep, absolutely. I need to play that Night Dive System Shock anyhow, so I'll do that instead.
I mean, but who knows? I mean, the remake's not out yet of the first System Shock, is it?
Oh, is it not? I can't remember. I felt like maybe I was thinking of the remaster. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. I just thought I assumed it was because it's been so long. So,
I mean, if the remaster does pretty well, who knows? Maybe they'll go back to the drawing board and say, hey, we have plans for a new one.
The enhanced edition is out, and the remake is not out. That's what I'm thinking of. Thank you, chat.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah. I actually I do want to play the enhanced edition. I'll just throw that on my Steam Deck and play that first, and then we'll see. All right. The latest evidence of that white Xbox Elite Series 2 controller has leaked again, this time pointing to a September release. This comes from Tom Ivan at VGC. The anticipated yet still unannounced white Xbox Elite Series 2 controller has leaked again. A photo which appeared to show boxed white Elite Series 2 controllers was shared online in March, followed by a video showing off the pad last month. The latest leak, however, comes from Amazon Mexico, which reportedly briefly listed the controller for release on September 21st. The listing has now been pulled, but Windows Central grabbed an image of it, and you can check that out on their site. This is clearly happening. It feels like a lot of announcements are getting lined up for September, and this is just another one. Like, we're talking about directs. We're talking about maybe Sony seemingly having something as well, and then this controller coming out September 21st, does that mean Xbox also has something where they're going to announce things? Or is this just get announced in a tweet, whatever? Either way, stuff is happening pretty quickly. We talked about this controller before. My big hope is they improve the build quality. Are you a pro controller kind of person?
I'm not a pro controller snob, I'll put it that way. I have the original Xbox Elite controller. I got it with my Series X. And I'll be honest though, I like the sort of like the hybrid black and white coloring. It's almost like a little bit like the DualSense. It's not a completely white controller. I actually wish I kept my PS5 and my Series X in the same place now, so I could put the controllers next to each other, and they could look right on the two Spyros there.
I like the dual tones of the black and white controllers for the DualSense. I like this a lot too. I think it looks really cool, and like the silver of the circular D-pad also looks great with that black and white. It is a fancy look. It looks pretty. It's a handsome looking controller. I am not going to buy another one of these. I already have an Elite 2 controller, so I am not going to spend $180 on another one. But it looks great.
That's what I meant to say, by the way. I had the original Elite 2. I meant to say the black one. Yeah.
Yes, and that one's working great for me. I use it all the time. I use it a lot of the time, especially on PC. When I'm actually on the Xbox, I find myself using just a regular Xbox controller. But whatever, mine is held up. But I've heard so many people having nightmares with their Elite controllers, and I'm kind of like, hopefully they fixed it with this revision. Maybe somehow the white paint makes it stronger. We'll see. Kotaku got more details about Denuvo on Switch, and we're going to go through those now. This is from Kotaku. We talked about this last week, but Denuvo is coming to Switch. The company is working independently from Nintendo A spokesperson for Denuvo confirmed in an email to Kotaku that Nintendo is not involved in the new DRM Switch initiative, and that it was developed in response to demand from existing clients to Denuvo. Because of NDAs, we are not allowed to disclose company names, but we can say that this solution comes from strong demand from publishing partners, the spokesperson wrote. They also claimed it would not hurt in-game performance. Software publishers and Denuvo take great care to deliver the best gaming experience, the spokesperson wrote. The protection is designed not to affect the gamer's experience, and it does not have any in-game performance impact. It is the same for this new solution when protection is only active in non-performance critical code parts. In response also to follow-up questions, Denuvo confirmed that DRM won't rely on online checks. We are aware that the Nintendo Switch is a mobile console and therefore has limited online capabilities, so we designed our solution to be fully offline. No online check is required. So a couple of things there. This is a hassle for like down the line with trying to keep these games preserved or whatever. But also Denuvo offline checks, that to me sounds like something that is very easy to crack. We've already seen this happen repeatedly with games that maybe I think even do have online checks, where early on in Denuvo's history, it was taking weeks and weeks for pirates to crack this stuff. And you would see the games not show up on these big pirating websites. Now it takes about a day. I don't think that's going to be any different for the Switch version of this. It's probably going to be about a day. And maybe that helps sales 1% or something like that. And maybe that's all they care about. But for the most part, this just seems like a hassle for everybody involved. And the point that keeps getting brought up is if the Denuvo does impact performance, the only person that will really be stopped or have a hassle because of this is someone who is a paying customer because they paid for it and the version of the game they're getting is slightly worse than if it didn't have Denuvo. But I guess we have to wait and see. We are assuming that's going to happen. We don't know that's going to happen. Either way, Denuvo is just it's a joke at this point. It doesn't really protect things. But can you blame these companies for wanting to like stop piracy though? It's the kind of thing that happens on every handheld machine from the beginning of time. And it had a real detrimental effect for the Vita and where it's like, I think that's the big reason that system didn't succeed. One of the big reasons that the system didn't succeed. There are other reasons for sure. But one of the big reasons is it was so easy to pirate that it kind of hurt sales. And they don't want that to happen with their Switch games, right?
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense. I don't fault the companies, the publishers for wanting to use Denuvo, but I feel like every time somebody adds, a Denuvo comes to a new set of games or whatever, and says like, no, it doesn't impact performance at all, and then they get into it and it does, it totally impacts performance. Yep. They always say that. They always say it doesn't impact performance. You're not going to be inconvenienced by it at all, and then, it's like, well, we're not until we are.
Yes, yeah, and it's again, if it gets cracked quickly, it's just the kind of thing where why even risk it? Why even do this? And for Denuvo, makes a lot of sense because they get paid. Yeah, they're going to make money.
Yeah, of course.
All right.
And didn't the Kotaku story also say it would restrict? I pulled it up. It would restrict use of legally purchased games with Switch emulators on PC, which that also makes sense that they wouldn't want. That
right. That's exactly
Nintendo.
what. Yes. That's right. That's what they're going for here. Where it's like Metroid Dread 3 comes out and you see a ton of people talk about how they're playing it on their PC right away, like even before the game is out. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's the period of time that they are actually worried about. Okay, the game comes out and a day later it gets cracked. But it's like that includes like the 2-week period where the game leaked online and people could have it early. Maybe it just helps with like marketing so that people aren't spoiling it or whatever. And these companies just feel more comfortable about that. Either way, this just doesn't feel like the right solution to the problem. The right solution probably is Nintendo finding a way to fight this themselves, improving their security, which they will likely do with a Switch revision here pretty soon. All right.
Yeah, that's fair.
Let's get to the catch-up with the Cowabunga Collection review roundup. The game, when I checked this morning, was at an 81 on Metacritic. This game launches tomorrow for just about everything. I know that Mike's been spending a lot of time with that, and we got a little bit from his review down here. But first, let's start with Destructoid's Chris Carter, who gave it an 8 out of 10. He said, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection, is a great repackaging of a set of uneven classic games. I'm in no rush to play Turtles NES again, for instance, but I can see myself diving into the extras menu and breaking out any number of the beat-em-ups with friends and family at pretty much any point. With the amount of care put in by Digital Eclipse, this is one of the best ways these games have been presented since they were released. And then Eric Hall from We Got Discovered gave it 3.5 stars out of 5. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the Cowabunga Collection, is a true labor of love from Digital Eclipse. Although the quality of the games included may be scattershot, ultimately, there's still enough good content to appeal to fans and non-fans alike. And then Mike says 4.5 out of 5 stars and says your reaction to the Cowabunga Collection will depend greatly on your affinity with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and their earliest games. Again, I grew up with a lot of these titles. I'm surprised how well most of these games hold up. I'm now convinced that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3, The Manhattan Project, is one of the best NES games ever, and Radical Rescue is maybe the best Game Boy game you've never played. Turtles in Time is just as much fun as I remember, and I love getting to see the differences between the arcade and Super Nintendo versions. A great selection of games make this a strong collection, and I also appreciate the accoutrements, well done, Mike, that Digital Eclipse is thrown into the package. If you're a beat-em-up or a TMNT fan, the Cowabunga Collection is going to offer a lot of fun for you and your friends. I've been meaning to get a code for this. Now I'm just like I'll buy it. I am a fan of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, especially as my girls get into it again. Like I was like, oh wow, this thing's just always around, and now it's it's latching onto a new generation. So I'm like, yeah, I'll play some of this stuff. Where are you at with the Turtles? Is this something you're excited about? And did the reviews change your mind at all?
No, I already wanted it anyway, but I mean, I also just like, the part of me that, is interested in game preservation. It's like, yes, this is how it should be. Taking a bunch of these very old games, and I mean, by this point in history, we consider them very old, even though I'm dating myself by saying that. But we got this collection of great older games that maybe a new generation of gamers wouldn't have heard of, wouldn't have gotten the chance to play unless they were very much into playing retro games. But then you present it to them in a modernized fashion, and pay homage to the greatness and to the greatness of the past. I enjoy that in general, regardless of what it is. But it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which means it's going to be great anyway.
Yep, and a Digital Eclipse always kind of gets my vote of confidence. They put like the review said, so much love into these games, and I want to just dive into that extras menu and see all the stuff they popped in there, because that's exciting on its own. So that this is pretty great stuff. More from the catch up. Okay, so let's take a look here. Some Sonic screenshots have leaked. I think this stuff is coming out. I didn't agree to embargo, so Rachel, if you agreed to any embargoes for Sonic Frontiers Deserts, okay, wonderful. Apparently this stuff's coming out tomorrow, but we got some screenshots like right now. Let me move this. Let me actually fix this real quick. But it looks pretty cool. Rachel, I think I might be getting excited about Sonic Frontiers. I don't know what's happening. I think like it's starting to look pretty decent.
It doesn't look as bad as I was kind of worried from the first trailers. I don't know. I had a little bit of a problem with the colors and the lighting in the first few trailers. So
yeah.
Like, oh, now it's starting to actually look. I mean, the screenshots they actually look kind of good.
Is this the Sonic cycle? Is this what the Sonic cycle is, everybody?
Yes, yes, it is. It is.
Shit, it got me.
We fell into the trap again.
Oh,
like, hey,
man.
It doesn't look bad.
Okay, people are saying that it plays fun, the controls are good, and I'm like, okay, well, that alone was actually my big concern, because they looked kind of like, even if the controls were good in that original setting, it almost felt like it wouldn't matter, because it was just so open and plain that you wouldn't be able to do anything fun. But what these screenshots show, and for audio listeners, it's a desert biome with a lot of cool looking tracks that aren't just like, oh, they are plain platforms hanging in the sky. Now they're like got these cool Matrix like effects, and there's giant old looking satellite receivers or whatever with transformer style to them or whatever. It's just like, okay, this does look like a cool place to hang out, and it's way different than what we've seen before, so there's a lot of variety here. And then you get to stuff like this. It looks like an industrial roller coaster design that looks like a Sonic level. So I'm like, okay, if the controls are good and it's varied and it does have stuff like this in it, maybe this game does have potential. And as long as it technically comes out pretty sound, I think this game has a chance of being one of the better reviewed 3D Sonic games of all time now. And it's like when they first started showing
how
this,
low.
Yeah.
It's amazing how low the bar Sonic, how low those.
Right.
Let me rephrase that. It's amazing that Sonic only has to clear that low of a bar in order to be considered. It's like, yay, this is the great new Sonic game. It plays.
It works, and that's good for them.
It works. I can run in this game. But yeah.
And the chat's rightfully pointing out, and that's a lot of ifs that I said, and then on top of that, and we're getting damn ads. Let's get off there. It's a lot of ifs, and they still might screw it up. Like there's like every reason to believe that this game comes out and just gets some very basic thing wrong that ruins the whole thing. And then people say, well, why would they put it out? Because the bar is so low, it probably will still be one of the best 3D Sonics of all time, and it'll sell, and the movie is still fresh in kids' minds, and like now they could capitalize on that with a game that will be pretty heavily marketed, and has been heavily marketed so far, so we'll see. I don't know if I've ever really loved or even liked a 3D Sonic game, so I guess maybe I should cool my jets here a little bit. We'll see.
It's like, is this the one that's gonna make me a believer? Maybe.
I hope so. We talked about it right before we went live here. So right before we did, there was the thread shared with me that talked about a presentation that Sony Interactive Entertainment gave, talking about like some of the stats for their services. Let's just go through this thing together here. I haven't had a chance to like break it down myself, but this comes from Ginky_JPN on Twitter, who says SIE gave a presentation about the worldwide PS4/PS5 PlayStation user base. In a year, US users play the most amount of titles on average. Japan users play the least number of titles, or fewest. Let's see. The average US player plays 10.7 titles per year. Meanwhile, EU is at 9.6. Asia overall is at 8.2, and then Japan is at 5.9 titles. But the average playtime per title in Japan is a lot higher than other countries. So they spend 66.2, I'm assuming that may be hours per game or something like that. That's pretty well. Maybe it's got to be minutes, actually. 66.2 minutes for their game, which is more than double any other region. US is at 28.7, EU's at 27.2, and Asia is at 25.5. So, that makes sense. If you're playing a lot more different games, you're probably spending less time with each game. It just kind of translates that way. Japan users also buy the most disc-only versions of full games in the survey, while US buy the least. Digital-only purchase percentage is high worldwide. Let's see. US is digital-only. It's kind of, there's no numbers on this chart, but you can see that the US is just a touch higher than Japan, and then EU and Asia are right in that same range. Disc only, US is actually significantly behind Japan. That's like almost a fifth of the chart of the bar. And again, they don't have numbers here, so I'm sorry for trying to translate that for audio listeners. For PS trophies, Japan users have the highest average trophy percentage among the top titles. US on average has the lowest. It's like 1 trophy per game for US and 17 for Japan. So that's a big like gap there. That's pretty wild.
So basically, we Americans have the attention span of goldfish.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting from this, is that we like a lot of different stuff. Maybe this is why Microsoft was like so willing to adopt Game Pass, right? Because Game Pass is like, it's about variety, and American gamers want a lot of different stuff. And meanwhile, around like everywhere else around the world, it's like, no, we'll stick with the game for a long time. Maybe it's a service game. Maybe it's not. Maybe it is just like a physical game we're going to buy from the store, and we're going to get every last hour of enjoyment out of this. And I think that those cultural differences are reflected in these numbers, and that's pretty interesting. All right, let's get to the poll for the day. Let me bring it up. At last Friday, I asked, who do you think gets acquired or merges next? EA, Ubisoft, or Square Enix? I also added an option, big acquisitions are over. Only 10.2% think big acquisitions are over, Rachel. Then of those 3 options that I did provide, EA was number 3 at 23.4%, then Ubisoft at 26.8%, and number 1 among people thinking a company would get acquired, at least among these 3, Square Enix with 39.6%. People offered some other options, but they also said like, oh, maybe EA will still get acquired. Maybe that Amazon thing was there was something to that. But where are you at with acquisition season? It definitely feels like it's slowed down a little bit, but I don't think big acquisitions are quite over yet.
No, they aren't over. I don't know if we'll ever see quite the same level of money as an Activision Blizzard acquisition again, and especially not, I don't think, for any of those companies. But I mean, it wouldn't be that much lower, but it would not be Activision Blizzard levels of money. But I do agree, Square Enix would definitely have been my choice.
Yeah,
because they've already jettison some of their studios, and so it seems like it would be easier to snap them up now.
I agree. I think that's probably right. And I think we will definitely continue to see, like, beyond these giant publishers, smaller studios are definitely going to keep getting acquired, no matter what happens with the economy going forward, because content is still so important to all these big publishers that they are going to be shoring up their IP catalogs and talent acquisition. So that's just going to keep happening no matter what. Let's see. I wanted to ask another question. Let's go with this one. Why are you still waiting to pick up a Steam Deck is the question. And let's see. The options are going to be already bought one and want to buy it at a store, and then waiting for a revision.
Like, where's the option? I just got married. I need to save up my disposable income again.
Don't want one. Well, damn it. Actually, maybe that's better for the one to buy it at a store. Let's go with that. Let's go with saving. Let's go with let's saving to buy one now. Okay, that seems right. Yeah. And then waiting for a revision, I think would get, like a lot of people are giving reasons why they're like looking at it and thinking, I don't know if I want it. Waiting for revision. The revision could be whatever you imagine it to be. So you could say I'm waiting for a revision. That applies to you. All right, I'm gonna pop that out there right now. We put the Game Mess Mornings on there. Game Mess Mornings, and we will come back and talk about that one tomorrow. But yeah, we touched on this already, and we already kind of talked about it. But like, if let's say you did get a small windfall of $400, would you be willing to get that lower end model that's just the flash storage? Because it's still pretty fast. It's obviously not as fast as the SSD, but I think at $400 that's still a pretty good deal. Would you do that? Or are you looking at only at like the $700 model?
No, I think I'd be willing to go for the $400 model. And it's not that I think I would love and use the Steam Deck, but I'm also not going to kid myself that I would use it quite so much. I don't move around quite so much that it's worth $700 to me. I'd be willing to take the $400 one.
Yeah.
By the way, quick.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead. I was just going to say, people are mentioning like, oh, they don't travel, and that's one of the reasons they're not going to get it, which I think is a completely fair thing. I don't travel that much either, but I have kids always using my TV, so that's kind of the reason that I've been very happy with mine. But yeah, go ahead. What were you going to say?
I was just going to say, not related to the Steam Deck, but I just remembered, isn't it the last day that you can add eShop cards to Nintendo 3DS and Wii U eShops?
Yes, it is. Are you going out there? Are you going to get anything from your eShop?
Oh.
Are you rushing out to go get cards and stuff?
I already bought my cards, but I think I already own almost everything I want for my 3DS. I think I might just get those couple of Professor Layton games I haven't played.
Yeah,
that aren't available anywhere else.
Yeah, that's a good call. Yeah, so if you are still looking to get Wii U and 3DS games, I think you have to put the currency on your system today, right? Like you have to like use those cards and buy those cards and make that happen. And then once you could spend that currency, I think, for a few more months still. But also, I feel like at this point, if you cared about that, you have probably already made all these moves, I think, for the most part. When this stuff got announced, everyone like rushed out immediately and went out and made it happen. I'm like, I got Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. I don't need anything else. And actually, those Professor Layton games, I started playing on my tablet on an emulator because they're all touchscreen, so they're like really easy to play on a tablet. And like I could just stack the screens or whatever and like hold it vertically. And it's like really nice way to play those games. It's like, a bit smudgy looking because it's DS on a really high resolution tablet display, but whatever. I honestly haven't cared because the music is so great and those puzzles are so good. I love the Professor Layton games. So
and I think there's like most of them are on. It's like the Phoenix Wright games. At least there are a lot of them that are on mobile. Like I think the excuse me, my voice broke. The 3DS era Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney games are on mobile. I believe Spirit of Justice, Dual Destinies is. I could be wrong, but I mean, so it's not critical to buy basically anything on 3DS, but it's still things like I still like Bravely Default, and I might buy the last couple of like DLC maps for some of the Fire Emblem games. So I'm not saying it's like go out right now and get all the last remaining eShop cards before they're all gone, but at the same time, I'm thinking just as a last just have a last hurrah before the things start to before Nintendo shuts out the lights.
Yep. J Unit asks, Grubb, did you jailbreak an iPad? Fuck no, I use an Android because it's open. Exactly the reason why I used Android. This is like, I maybe install or sideload something like once a year, but the fact that like all the DS emulator is just right there on the Google Play Store. Like, I'm surprised. Like, is it not just on that way on iPad? I don't use Apple stuff, so I would just assume that the emulators would be right there. You have to like jailbreak it to use emulators. What the hell's wrong with you guys over there? Get a real computer. Get a real device. Jesus Christ, guys. That's embarrassing for Apple. All right, let's wrap this show up. Rachel, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I asked you this, I think, like late on, or like over the weekend, and you're like, yeah, absolutely. And I'm like, oh, thank God, this is great. So yeah, thank you for being here.
Who canceled that you had to invite me on?
Nobody. Mike was actually. Mike was like, "Am I on Monday again?" I'm like, "Fuck no, I don't want to talk to you that many times in a row." So I immediately went like, "I'm gonna go ask Rachel." It worked out great. Thank you, audience.
No, I enjoy this. It's fun.
No, I really appreciate it. It's fantastic. And thank you, audience, for watching. You are the best audience in gaming. We'll be back with another one of these shows on Wednesday. Tomorrow is the Giant Bombcast. Tune in for that. Until all that, however, have a good one. Take care of yourself, and goodbye.